Hi, I'm Ryan. At Landscape Plus, it's our goal to give all landscape professionals the confidence to design and install lighting, irrigation and water features. In this video, I'm going to look at the basics of irrigation design. Let's jump into it. So to start with, let's look at a couple of key considerations when designing an irrigation system. The first one would be conduits. That's probably the most important part, is getting conduits in the places that you're going to have irrigation. The amount of times that we've had plans through where they've already built the driveway or pathways and we're having to work around that can obviously be a trip hazard and unsightly for the client. So yeah, get that in as early as possible. So the next consideration is pressure and flow. This is actually a key part of the irrigation system, as it tells us what we can actually irrigate from those tap points. The two parts to it, so yeah, pressure you would test at the tap. That's the force in which the water's coming out of the tap. You would do this with a pressure gauge kit. That would just snap onto the tap and it would give us a bar reading there. As for the flow rate, that's the volume of water that's coming out of the tap. You can test that by just getting a bucket underneath, turning it on for a minute, and then you can find out how many litres per minute you're getting. This is all important information for us, as it will lead us to what irrigation system is possible from those tap points. So now that we've covered the key considerations, let's jump into the plan. Now on this particular one, we had two tap points, one down by the garage and one on the other side of the garden. This was helpful because there was a big driveway to get across, so that means that we could do each side of the garden from each tap point, which was useful. Now the areas being covered here were the planting beds, the lawn and the trees, which had some containers as well. It's worth noting, I mean, we'd have these initial conversations with you, so whether it's just key planting we're covering, whether it's all the planting and how dense that is as well. The same with the soil type. If that's inconsistent, that may need to be on different zones as well. So these are questions we'll ask to get an understanding of the project. Looking at each area individually, we'll start with the planting beds. There's a couple of different ways to water a planting bed, which Sam went over in a separate video that you can check out. So for this particular one, we use drip line. We find it to be the most efficient system. It's pressure compensating, so you don't need particularly good pressure or flow for the system to work properly. But you can also use border sprinklers that you can see on the screen as well. They're on show and give you a different type of watering. We would, obviously, our decision will be based on what type of planting you've got in there. I think that with border sprinklers, you can sometimes get a little bit too much excess water on the planting itself. But again, these are discussions we'd have with you to work out what would be best for each area. And the next one was the trees. Couple of different options. I think for this particular one, we use tree rings, so we use drip line and looped around, which is an efficient method of doing it. You could also use adjustable drippers that you can see on screen there, or pressure compensating if you wanted to as well. And this is the same for containers. We would use the same sort of thing, so you can use drippers, and depending on what you've got in there will lead us down to whether we go down the pressure compensating route, or if you needed a little more water, we could use the adjustable drippers as well. So for the last part of this project, we cover the lawn. Now we would use pop-up sprinklers for this as its most efficient method of doing it, and you'd use a tank and pump system, as that would give you extra pressure and flow to throw that full radius that you need for the pop-ups. Now from our point of view, we would work out the arcs for you on there so that you've got a good idea of how many you're going to need and in what location they're going to be. The last part we're going to cover today is sensors. Now there are a few available, such as a soil sensor. Now that will measure the moisture in the root zone, and when it reaches a certain point, we'll cut your irrigation out automatically. The same goes for rain sensors. Now we would always advise having a rain sensor on your timers, because if you don't, when it is raining, your irrigation will continue to run, and we would obviously not advise that, as that is going to potentially kill planting and it takes away the point of an irrigation system, as we want to irrigate that properly for an adequate amount of time. Hopefully you found this video on basic irrigation design helpful. If you do have any questions, do not hesitate in getting in touch with us.